Hello and welcome back to the Work-Love Balance series. I'm so glad you're here with us. My name is Austin.
And I'm Denise.
And the question for today is, when you're in a relationship, what's more important, logic or emotion?
Let's talk about it.
All right, so the question for today is, when you're in a relationship, what's more important, logic or emotion, right? To bring that conversation to like its head, to give it a real example, I'll talk about, what was that, yesterday? 2 days ago?
Yeah, yesterday.
No, it's 2 days ago.
2 days
Friday.
ago. Oh, yeah.
So,
we got here.
Friday, of course, we have this Work-Love Balance brand. We are actually on vacation, a quick vacation, and
My baby's
said,
birthday.
right, I'm getting old, y'all. I'm turning 27. I'm getting old. So,
Really?
we had on vacation, we said, look, we work a lot. We both work a lot, all the time. Phones, emails, on your laptop, all that. And said, look, that's not what we're going to do on this trip in order to enjoy each other's company. As a result, right, that was a real consideration. That was a real focus of ours. And on that day, though, somebody had a closing, real estate closing, which, congratulations, get the money. You know what I'm saying? I cannot stop you from doing that.
But I broke the rules.
She broke the rules. So for the first half of the day, in the airport, in the taxi, well, in the Uber, and all that stuff, she had to be on the phone, on the laptop, and knocking stuff out. Completely okay. I didn't fuss too much, you know what I'm saying? Maybe got to get a little side eye or whatever, but it's cool. And then, though, when we got here, we had to put some content out, right? We have to show you all part of the journey. Right? Part of the journey is including the people that are viewing these videos, including them in what we got going on. As a result, we had to put something out. I had to put it together and was editing the video. And it probably took like 3 minutes. You know what I mean?
3? Really?
Probably took like 3 minutes. And
3, put a 0 behind
after
it.
After 3 minutes, she was like, look, you're taking too long. I don't know why you're being so particular about the video. Like, you
taking way too long.
Like, you're not in the video, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I'm like, look, man, I got a rep to protect. My content has to be on point, and I like to... Well, I have a big thing about music. I'm really into music, and so when it comes to music and video, I try to line it up so that like it's perfect. It has to be a production. Not to say that I'm extra or kind of being kind of virtuoso, but I want my stuff to look like somebody put some thought behind it. That's all. And so as a result, after working probably 65% of the day, I take 30 minutes to knock some stuff out for us, and now somebody got an attitude. So the question is this: are women ever wrong? Right?
No.
Are women ever wrong? Like completely wrong? Not justified, not kind of wrong. Ever just wrong? I'm sorry, I was not correct. I was wrong. Is that ever the case?
I mean, yes, it can be the case. I mean, but in this particular situation, it was a lot going on. Right. So, my closing didn't go as smoothly as I wanted it to do. Got a call that Destin wasn't feeling well. So I just had a lot of things that were on my mind. And we had finally gotten to the hotel. Our flight was delayed. All kind of things were going on that day. So when we finally got to the hotel, we were like, okay, let's focus on us. Let's enjoy our time.
Right.
So I was a bit frustrated that he was on his phone and it was time to go. So yeah, that caused a little bit of a rift. So... in going through that or whatever, obviously we had opposing views on how the situation went down. So I can accept the fact that I was wrong. Had to ask myself the question, like, is this really serious? Is it really that serious for us to kind of walk down the street, not holding hands like we normally do, not talking, not having good conversation when we're in we're in Miami. So, I had to be the bigger person in this case. And grab my baby head and just like, let's talk about it. Because I used to be one of those people who was such an introvert. So if something went on, I wouldn't like to talk. I would just be mad. And I've learned as I've gotten older that it is extremely important to express yourself. Like, you have to talk it through.
The question, oftentimes, I don't know, I've said the question like 3 different times today, but rock with me. The question is this, right? Is the squeeze worth the juice? Is the effort worth the result, right? Or is it okay? The word settle often has such a horrible connotation when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Such a horrible connotation. You should never settle. But the secret I want to let you guys in on is when it comes to confrontation in relationships, it's okay to settle.
Yeah.
Here's what I mean by that. Think about a lot of the major lawsuits that you've ever heard about. Class action suits against stockbrokers, real estate investors, lawyers, all kind of folks. A lot of people settle, whether they're rich or not, and here's why. What you start to ask yourself is this whole hoopla, is this whole endeavor worth the money that it's costing me, worth the time and energy and court dates and stress that it's costing me in order to get this result and say, I'm right, I can finally prove that I'm right and get that Pyrrhic victory.
Right.
A lot of people say no. Just give me the money. You know what? It's not even that serious.
Not that serious.
As long as we can meet in the middle. I wanted 100 million, but if you can give me 50 million, I'll be all right. Why do people do that? People do that because fussing and fighting is not the natural human state of comfort.
Right.
People just want to be at peace and live their lives. And so in relationship, if you say, I'm so mad that it's more important to me to be right than it is for us to be at peace, it's probably time to evaluate yourself and say, am I ready to be in a relationship?
Right. And that brings me to another point. Like, you really, really want to be able to evaluate the person that you're with prior to marriage in the way that they act during confrontation.
Right.
It's going to happen. We're human. Like, you're in a relationship, you're bringing two different mindsets together, especially if you both have pretty strong personalities. It can be extremely difficult to reach a common ground. So you want to know, okay, when I'm dating you, because my mom told me this, she said, when you're dating a person or dating a man, that is when you're going to get the best of them. So that's when they're going to put their best foot forward. So you want to be able to evaluate if I'm dating you and I get, this level of treatment, okay, it might go down a little bit when I'm married. So it's this level, a high enough level for me to be able to look 30 years from now and say, yeah, I can deal with this person. Because attitude is a huge part of the evaluation process. I know that when I was a young girl, I made this checklist of the kind of man that I thought I wanted to be with. Luckily, you got a lot of those checks, you know what I mean? But I didn't actually include attitude on there. You know what I mean? So do you actually evaluate your partner's attitude when it comes to a long-term relationship? Because that should be something that you evaluate.
And for those of us who view relationship through a godly lens, you can talk about attitude, you can talk about spirit, right?
Right.
There's this thing inside of a person, and it helps you see who they really are. To give an example or to make a parallel, what I'll say is this. As an example, a diamond. The one that can go through the most pressure and not break is the one that's valuable. A thing's value is often associated with how solid it can be. The saying is pressure busts pipes, right? They say all the time, you don't really know a person until you've seen them upset.
Yes.
And so all those things are trying to say is, hey, if you don't understand what a thing is like when it's tested, then you don't really understand the thing. There is no championship. There is no champion without a final battle.
Yes.
Why? Because just like in relationships, before you know what something is going to do when it's shaken and put under heat and pressure and dropped on the ground, you can throw it from a 30-foot building. If it hits the ground and you go down there and see, look, this thing didn't crack. Now you know you have something valuable. That's a diamond. And that's the kind of relationship that you want. Not that you say you want to put it under a bunch of unnecessary pressure, right? Infidelity and relational roller coaster, and we're just always fussing and fighting.
Right.
But you have to take note when you go through these arguments or through these situations.
Yes.
Hey, how did they respond? What kind of red flags did I see?
Yes.
And is their body attractive enough for me to skip the red flags, or am I really paying attention to the person that I'm with to the point where, hey, that red flag meant to me that we have to sit down and talk? And if we can't understand what went wrong in that scenario, maybe we need to reevaluate whether or not this is the thing that's going to work.
Yes.
Because a lot of times people skip that.
Right.
Especially
and
women.
Right.
They do. They meet a guy,
Well,
he's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I thought you were trying to come for us.
No,
Don't come for us.
No, they do. They meet a guy, he's cool, he's handsome, he's got a lot of game, he may have some extra money.
Yeah.
But when he gets upset, first thing he wants to do is get aggressive. He wants to swing. He wants to do all this stuff. You got to pay attention to that.
Right. And nowadays, I can't even say it's just the men.
Yeah.
Because I was a diamond in the rough. I remember in the past, it didn't take anything for me to go from 0 to 100.
Right.
So over time, sometimes time and experience will teach you. Sometimes life is just the best experience. But what you have to understand and evaluate is you want those experiences before you say I do.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm excited that we've gone through things in our relationship because now I can really, look past all this chocolate.
Look at that.
Goodness.
There we go. Get closer again.
And be able to really see, the inner man. Like, who are you? Do you still treat me with respect when you're upset with me?
Right.
Are you going to curse me out? Are you going to yell? Are you going to not open my door now because you have an attitude? You want to really see who are you really?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's extremely, extremely important, ladies. Make sure you evaluate those things. If he's starting to treat, and I'm a single mother, and he's a part of my son's life, do you treat my child differently when you're upset with me? If our relationship isn't going the optimal way, are you going to treat Destin differently?
Right.
You know, and that hasn't been the case, and I thank God for that.
Last point I make for that is what you're doing when you're in a relationship and planning anything that's longer than the next couple days is you're trying to build something.
Yeah.
And what you're saying without testing that foundation is that I'm willing to build an entire future on a foundation that I'm not sure if it's solid. Just like if you see a beautiful throne, this man puts you on a pedestal, or you put that person on a pedestal, but you don't know if that pedestal is solid or not until somebody sits on it. Yeah. If it falls away and if it crumbles to the ground, that wasn't worth anything, right? So that's the first piece. Second piece is this. In relation to that, the question is, whose responsibility in a relationship is it for there to be happiness? The saying is often, happy wife, happy life, happy girlfriend, happy life, all that stuff, right? Men do whatever they have to do to make sure they don't have to hear their partner's mouth or nagging, or that she'll be happy and smiling and doing backflips. The question is, though, like, is that fair? Is that one-sided? And should men really be crafting and molding themselves, right, through whatever the argument is, no matter how wrong she may have been, to say, you know what, just because I don't want her to be mad, and just because I want the possibility of intimacy again, I'll say it's all right, it's all good. I'll bring flowers, I'll cook, I'll take her out to buy some shoes. That's probably silly, because what you're doing, the thing you got to think about is this. How you start is how you got to finish. So if you're okay with her acting up, acting crazy, and then just it's all okay, you end up apologizing because you got mad because she was mad. Well, then in 10 years, don't try to change that behavior. Look, if you were okay with it at the beginning,
exactly.
Don't try to get baritone in your voice now.
Yeah, right. That's so true.
Absolutely.
I mean, how you know they say even with women, like, we have to train our man, right? That's a whole thing. Train them up in the way they should go. I know that's in the Bible, but I'm just saying, like,
not in the Bible. I don't know who says
well,
that.
That's kids.
That's
saying
that date little boy.
But,
you gotta train him, man.
No, I'm just saying that is a saying.
Really?
Yes. That's why when an older woman dates a younger man, you're training them up. Oh, like, you're 5 years younger than me, so I gotta train you.
No.
Exactly. Look, it's about to be some conflict resolution right here live.
So, ladies, let me stop right here. If you have to train that man, you should probably leave him on the stoop where he is, because that's a little boy. Right? Let's be honest. And fellas, if you get in a situation and you feel like she's having to teach you how to be a man, you may want to start doing some reading, some self-evaluation, get on YouTube, do whatever you have to do. Because if you're solid, if you're a male, if you're a man, and you get into a relationship and feel like your partner needs to train you, or she feels like she has to train you, she has to go to her girlfriend and say, girl, I had to teach him how to do. No.
That's
Negative.
true.
That's unacceptable.
In the past, that has been the case. So I'm happy that now that's no longer the case.
Right. That's not solid at all. And unfortunately, the truth is a lot of guys don't have fathers. Right. To learn how to treat women. So I can understand where that part of the scenario comes in.
And you have a great father. That makes a difference.
Absolutely. Right. Learning how to treat a woman. That could make sense. But as far as manhood, it's tough for you to say, like, a woman has to train a man on how to be a man. But oftentimes in this day and age, these guys do need some guidance because they have never had it. And they didn't seek it either. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you can make apologies or you can make excuses. You know what I mean? You can just apologize for the things that you've done wrong. It goes back to the question what you're saying, that do you think women are ever wrong?
Right.
I mean, you want to evaluate the situation, and if you do find that your partner is wrong or you're wrong in the situation, apologize for it so that you guys can move forward a lot more swiftly than holding it out, missing out on memories, missing out on time, not enjoying each other's company while you're on vacation because you let a little situation ruin your entire trip.
On top of that, or not even on top of that, beside that, right, to parallel it, I'll say it's probably best to talk about situations when they happen, because otherwise you do get on your trip. A lot of people work their whole year and wait for 2 weeks vacation. They finally take that vacation, and then they'll say they get in an argument. And now, all the money that they had saved for the year, all the time that they were looking forward to spending is wasted because they didn't talk about the things that were little throughout the year. So now when we get in this argument on the trip, you always doing that. And look, that is unnecessary, guys. That's not necessary. There's a thing that Bruce Lee talked about, right? And it just talks about kind of handling things and how you handle the little things. He said, I'm not afraid of the man who has 10,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the man who's trained one kick 10,000 times, right? So what that speaks to is the little things, the repetition, and how often you fix the little things can make you so much more powerful and effective.
Yeah.
You can try to be everything to everybody. You can try to say, hey, there's nothing wrong with our relationship. But if you don't fix those little things, if you don't practice every day in and out those little things, then that conflict resolution is not going to be a part of your repertoire. Right. And so when that muscle's not strong, if it's tested, it's going to be weak and it's going to crack. Yeah. Right? So I'm glad that one thing for guys, I said happy wife, happy life, all that stuff, guys are used to having to fix it. But if you run across a woman who's willing to apologize, own up to their mistakes, look, the woman I'm sitting next to, after the conversation that we had, stuck her hand out and said, look, like, hold my hand, let's continue. We're going to this restaurant. Let's go get something to eat. Let's have fun. That may seem small, but it's super valuable, right? Because oftentimes guys deal with women that they don't think that's their job. Right. They think if the man's not apologizing, then no apologies are going to happen. We just going to be mad. Right?
I don't want that.
That's silly. And it's you have to, when you notice that you have a partner that's sweet like that, right? That has that in them, has in their core that they want peace and balance and love in that relationship, value it. Because if you don't, what you realize is eventually you're going to stop reaching her hand out. Right. Right.
And ladies, it does not make you weak to be able to say, you know what, okay, let's just move forward. I'm sorry. To apologize first. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
What was that? Do you speak a different language as well? Look, ladies and gentlemen, she just learned something. Look, I'm just playing. Nah. Nah. Seriously though.
Yeah, that's good.
Seriously,
that's good.
Yeah, you see all those memes on Instagram. Are women allergic to saying I'm sorry? Does a woman ever say I'm sorry? If your woman doesn't say that they're sorry, you probably don't need to be with them. Or you guys should talk about it. And maybe maybe that's a place of growth. And if they're willing to learn, that's even better.
Exactly. And that's why I said I was not always that type of girl where I would reach my hand out and say sorry first or any of that. I had to grow to that. And I also had to have a man who wasn't going to play that. So
that makes sense.
That makes a difference as well. But I think this was good, babe. I hope that it blessed you guys in the way that it's blessed us, and just wanted to have a conversation about it. We thought it was pretty relevant since it was something we've gone through, and we're doing this live. A lot of times I think people do a lot of scripted things. We just want to have real talk with you guys because we're not perfect and we don't try to present ourselves to be. So what we go through, we want to share with you guys, and maybe you guys can comment and share some things that you've gone through that can help us, with our conflict resolution as we move forward in this long journey.
Absolutely. If we're feeding the people and we sugarcoat too much, eventually y'all gonna end up with cavities, right? We gotta give it to you real. Gotta give it to you raw.
For days.
Right. You gotta give it to them real. Gotta give it to them raw, because if they're not getting that, then there's no point of us being on this camera. Right. So I'm thankful for y'all. We're gonna wrap this up like we always do with our motto. It says, work is what you do.
Love is why you do it.
And it is possible to have balance if you build with the right partner. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next week. Make sure you like, share, follow, and subscribe. There's so much more to come.
Yeah. All right.